How can you cut the cost in the healthcare sector?
Have you heard of Sarda Act?
Do you support this, reservation, or you are against this?
Kolkata and surrounding. Can you tell us the difference between these two textile industries?
So, is it a good news for Japan?
May I come in, sir?
Yes, come in.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Please be seated.
Thank you, sir.
Please introduce yourself to the board.
So, myself, Tejas Sarda from Solapur district in Maharashtra. I have done my schooling in Marathi medium from my hometown. Thereafter, I pursued my MBBS from St. GS Medical College. It's a government medical college in Mumbai, sir. After doing 1 year of an internship, I started to prepare for UPSC. So, my hobbies include dancing and reading both fiction movies and watching fiction movies. I also like to play tennis.
So, what are you doing? You are preparing for the civil services.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, tell me, should I call you Sudeep or Tejas?
So, my name is Tejas.
Tejas. Okay. Tejas, tell me, you are basically a doctor. You did your MBBS also. And you see, in our country, there is a dearth of good doctors. Why didn't you want to pursue your career as a doctor to serve the humanity?
Sir, I did want to pursue as a doctor, and that is why I started my MBBS. But sir, this thought of becoming a civil servant had been planted in my childhood days by my grandfather. He was a professor and he had groomed some of his students. So he always used to encourage me that I should do this. And when I started to work in the government setup, sir, I realized that as a doctor, there were obviously very good things that we were doing, but there were certain limitations of scale. And I understood as my horizons expanded, that a civil servant can do the good at a much larger scale with the authority and with the backing that he gets.
Okay, Tejas, tell me, what is your vision of India from 10 years from now and your role in that vision?
Sir, I see India as becoming, if not the complete Vikasit Bharat or the superpower, then at least a predominant regional power in both political and economic sense. And my role as a young Indian, I would like to be in the government and be a civil servant working in the best possible capacity that the various welfare schemes of the government are reaching to the last man standing. And if that endeavor is not panned out, I will certainly have the benefit of my medical graduation, sir.
Okay, tell me, you must be aware about Ayushman Bharat scheme, isn't it? So what are your views on the insurance model which is there in a part of the Ayushman Bharat scheme, and do you suggest any changes in the model?
Sir, the insurance model is predominantly adopted from the United States. However, there are certain other models like universal healthcare system, which predominantly focuses on the preventive aspect rather than the curative aspect and the insurance. Having said so, sir, if a balance is to be achieved, Ayushman Bharat is a very good scheme. The only problem with the Ayushman Bharat, not the only problem, but the chief problem is there is a problem of missing middle. That is, it covers the lower 1/3 of the Indian population, and the wealthy ones do have the cover of private insurance, but the middle population is currently not covered. So perhaps the aim of the government, it is said that it will become in future Ayushman Bharat 2.0, which will be a universal healthcare scheme, could be a good thing. The second would be that there are certain deficiencies in the operation of the scheme, even though it is designed in a good way. Like there was a case in which patient was kind of robbed of his funds by even in a Safdarjung hospital, which is a government hospital in Delhi. So that would be second. And so perhaps third would be increasing the coverage of ailments and diseases covered under this scheme.
So eventually the country should move towards universal healthcare. This is what
a part of it, sir. Yes.
You tell me, talking of the healthcare, it turns out to be a very expensive proposition for the patients of our country, and which we can ill afford to even bear the cost. How can you cut the cost in the healthcare sector? What are the areas where you can think that cost can be cut?
Sir, the first thing which comes to my mind is focusing more on the preventive healthcare. Like prevention is better than cure, it is often said. So a disease like suppose tuberculosis, if it is advanced, the patient has to, and if it is advanced in the terms of MDR-TB or XDR-TB, the patient has to go through not just the physical agony, also the financial pain. But if we work on the preventive aspect of tuberculosis on a community level, perhaps the patient will not have to go through that in the first place. So preventive aspect would be first, and second would be, sir, if we increase the insurance coverage to a universal level, and there is an increase in the health seeking behavior of the community, then the people will be incentivized to reach the healthcare at an earlier stage, which is often not seen in Indian community today. There is a tendency to delay the visit to the healthcare facilities because of both the financial burden and simply lack of awareness.
Last question from my side. What do you mean by resilient healthcare and how it is different from the promotive healthcare?
Sir, I understand resilient healthcare as the healthcare system which can cope with the new challenges which are faced by it. For example, the black swan event like COVID-19 was not anticipated by anyone, but more or less, even though Indian healthcare system had major lacunae, it did deal with it in a commendable way considering our resources. So that would be a resilient healthcare system. A promotive healthcare system, I think, sir, is a broader concept wherein we work on both the preventive aspect of the healthcare, the curative aspect, the basically all the dimensions of the healthcare, sir. So that is what I understand.
Thank you very much. Tejas.
Thank you, sir.
Tejas Sudeep, Sarda.
Yes, sir.
Have you heard of Sarda Act?
Pardon me, sir.
Sarda Act, 1929.
Sarda Act, yes, sir, yes. Sir, it was passed by on the recommendations of Mr. Hargobind Das Sarda, if I am not mistaken, and it was regarding child marriage to increase the age of marriage for boys to 16 and for girls to 14. I am not exactly sure about the age, sir, but it was regarding
that's good, Sudeep. Sudeep, now regarding the existing marriages, is there a need to increase that?
Sir, there are two trends regarding it. As our Honorable Prime Minister said, the age of both the sexes should be raised to 21. The benefit is that especially the girls of adolescent age will get to complete their higher education, which will equip them to enter into the workforce and get a more paying or more qualified job. But the downside is that, sir, even the current age limits are at places not being enforced very well, and it leads to sometimes harassment of some communities because in their traditional sense the marriage is permitted. For example, sir, in the Muslim personal law, the marriage is allowed once a girl reaches puberty. So there is some legal tussle in that regard. So either it should be reduced and made same for both the boys and girls to 18 years or 21 years. Either way looks good to me, sir.
Okay, that's good. You are a doctor. Who was Hippocrates?
Sir, Hippocrates was the ancient Greek doctor, so to say, of those kinds, of those times, who invented the Hippocratic. He did not invent actually, sir, but the Hippocratic oath is. Sorry, sir.
Was he a doctor?
Sir, I believe the doctor in the traditional sense as we understand was not the doctor of those times, but he was more of a philosopher and a knowledgeable person of all sorts of disciplines, sir, all disciplines of knowledge.
And what is the difference between Charak and Sushrut?
The Charak was the Indian, so he was the father of Indian medicine, and he wrote Charak Samhita. It deals more with the diseases, the Ayurvedic herbs to deal with them, and Sushrut was the father of Indian surgery. So he wrote about various surgical elements and how to do do a rhinoplasty or use the leeches and hirudin chemical in them to use for blood transfusion, etc. So medicine and surgery, sir.
What about Tejas? Tejas? Capability of Tejas?
Sir, are you referring to Tejas the word or
naturally.
myself?
No, not you.
The Tejas basically is a Sanskrit origin name which means bright.
Also
luminance.
some fighter aircraft or something like that?
Yes, sir, yes.
Hmm?
The indigenous light combat aircraft Tejas,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
has been the
Do you have any
symbol
idea
of-
about its capability?
yes, sir.
Hmm?
Sir, currently I think there are 2 squadrons in
Mhm.
Indian Air Force,
Mhm.
and the current Tejas Mark 1, which is in use, it has around 500 kilometers of a range, and it also carries some missiles. It is the lightest in its category in the world, and that is the unique selling point of it. In fact, India is in talks with some Southeast Asian countries like Philippines, Indonesia, etc. to
Mhm.
export Tejas as well. And going ahead, Tejas Mark II, which is in plan, will improve even further while using with the use of this General Electric F414 engines. So it will improve the capacity of this Tejas in the dogfights and various surveillance and maneuvers, sir.
Okay, last question from my side, Tejas. How does this climatic change affect our health?
So climate change affects our health in multiple ways, and it is really mind-boggling to understand it in all the dimensions.
Mhm.
First, for example, sir, some diseases which were not prevalent are getting more common in some areas. For example, dengue. Now the dengue mosquito, the Aedes mosquito, has been found to survive longer in the increased temperatures. So previously those areas which were not having dengue will have more of it, while at the same time some diseases like malaria, the Anopheles mosquito, which is the carrier of it, will not be able to survive the longer temperature. So there is going to be a shift in the disease composition. Then sir, there is going to be a change in the food composition as well, and it will have some impact upon the nutrition of the people, and again it will impact the immunity and resilience of the people to face diseases. So that would be one thing. Sir, again an interesting phenomenon has been occurring. There has been a melting of ice, glaciers and ice caps. So some of those diseases which were previously not at all common are now being discovered, and those diseases which were not heard of in last 500-700 years are being reported in those countries where they have been practically wiped out, like some European countries, anthrax, etc. So these strange kind of things are.
Okay, thank you, Tejas.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Tejas, you have mentioned in your DAF that you were selected for IRMS in Civil Service Examination 2022, right?
Sir,
You didn't join?
I joined and then took extraordinary leave, sir.
Okay, but still in this application also you have applied for IRMS as preference number 8.
Yes, sir. I just kept my preference in the same fashion as I had kept last year, sir.
Okay, okay. Now tell me, you are from Maharashtra, right?
Yes, sir.
So Maharashtra has recently passed a law giving 10% reservation to Maratha community.
Yes, sir.
Where do you stand on this issue? I mean, do you support this reservation, or you are against this? If yes, if you are against this, on what grounds?
Sir, I think the problem of according reservation to the dominant section is that it creates more and more demand from other sections as well. And predominantly the root cause of this demand, which has been present across the Maratha community, is economic. And reservation actually does not satisfy the root cause of the demand, sir, because there are not enough jobs in the government sector where the reservation is applicable. So even though
So what should be done? I mean, in order to dispense with the entire concept of reservation, what should be the alternative mechanism to replace that system?
so there has to be generation of more jobs for the youth which is coming out in the labor market, and for that overall we have to increase the economic pie of the state and the nation both. And sir, the various steps that are being taken for that, manufacturing, boost to manufacturing via production link incentive schemes, then skilling of our youth, improving upon the higher education. So these broad steps need to be taken, sir. And vis-a-vis this specific demand, we have to convince and show a honest conversation with the leaders of Maratha community that even though it is not visible in the near future that immediate fruits will be, or low-hanging fruits are there, but this is the only way to go ahead with it, sir.
Okay, you are also a doctor by profession, right?
Sir.
Can you please tell me, there is one very important act known as PCPNDT Act of 1994, right?
Yes, sir.
So just tell me, has this act been ineffective? Actually, I mean, the purpose for which this was introduced. We have not been able to check that. It was primarily for the purpose of checking incidents of female foeticide.
Yes,
But
sir.
still we have not been able to. Off and on we come across multiple instances of such nature. Can you please tell me what modifications should be done in this act so as to make it more stringent, so as to preempt any incident coming to the fore?
Sir, I believe that the act has only, or for the matter, not just PCP and DT Act, any act can become only so much effective as to the society truly accepts it. And in fact, in my opinion, PCP and DT Act is pretty stringent. There are some loopholes, but these are because of the ineffective implementation on ground of the act, sir. For example, sir, from my personal experience, often those inspectors who come across are not very ethical in their dealings, and which gives the doctors who are also not ethical some leeway to practice this kind of unethical practice, which is not just bad for that particular individual, it gives a bad name to the whole profession.
So you are suggesting the act has sufficient provisions to bite, but yes, we need to be ethically and morally upright.
Yes, sir. The society in general has to condemn such practices. For example, in Beat district, there was a famous case in which a particular doctor was committing female feticides for almost 10 years. And almost everyone knew about it, but it took 10 years for this case to be resolved and the doctor to be put behind the bars. So this should not.
My last question to you as a doctor, I mean, you must have seen in the recent past as well that many acts of vandalism take place in hospital premises whenever any patient unfortunately
Yes.
dies at the hand of any doctor. So what are the laws? Can you name a few laws which give protection to doctors in such scenario?
Sir, there was a proposal of bringing about a specific act for this purpose, protecting the healthcare setup, but it was not accepted by the Health Ministry of Home Affairs. So it was put down. But during the case of pandemic, I think the Epidemic Diseases Act was amended to give the protection to healthcare setups, wherein this kind of
various state governments have also
have
come up
also
with
done
many
it,
acts.
sir.
My last question to you. Do you think doctors should go on a strike because they are into a very essential services as such? I mean, it's justified that they are pitching for their rights to be implemented, but do you think morally it is correct? You are keeping the lives of many people at stake, at altar, and proceeding for strike?
Sir, I think it should be only the last resort. And even in that case, the essential healthcare, emergency healthcare, critical healthcare should not be allowed to get disturbed, because that is simply allowing the patients or those who can be easily saved or have a reasonable chance to be saved to die, and that is against the Hippocratic Oath. So that is not acceptable. But beyond that, there should be a gradual process, sir. First negotiations, and if it does not work out.
I got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Tejas, you are from Solapur, right? A
Yes, sir.
place known for its textile industry.
Sir.
So just in second half of 19th century, there were two major hubs of this textile industry. One was the western part of India, Maharashtra, Gujarat. Other was the eastern part of India, Kolkata and surrounding. Can you tell us the difference between these two textile industries?
Sir, I'm not
In terms
exactly
of-
sure, but if I could take a guess.
You can take a guess.
Sir, I believe in the eastern part of the country, it was jute predominant,
Good.
and in the western part, it was cotton predominant. Because
Any other difference in terms of ownership, in terms of this structure of this
Sir,
factories,
in the
etc.?
western part, especially in my hometown, I am aware that they were actually privately owned,
Right.
and perhaps that was not the case in the eastern part. I will have to look up to it, sir.
Fine. You are a doctor. Recently, Lancet has published an article related to the to India facing double whammy. At one end, there is malnutrition. At other end, there is obesity, which is increasing like anything. Can you tell us how big the problem of obesity is?
Sir, in fact, the term malnutrition encompasses both the ends of the spectrum, undernutrition and overnutrition.
Right.
And we often tend to relate malnutrition with the undernutrition part, because that has been the case in India for such a long time. Except in the last, I'll say, 2 or 3 decades, the problem of obesity has skyrocketed. I do not I do not recall the exact data, sir.
Right.
But the overall assessment was that not just in the elderly, even in the youngsters of today and of all age groups, from toddlers to adolescents to young people, the problem of obesity has been rising.
Why it is increasing? Can you give us 2 or 3?
Yes, sir. Earlier, sir, it was thought that it is because of the so-called genetics or the sedentary lifestyle. These are all the factors which are responsible. But as I understand medicine, the most important change has been in our diet of the processed food, sir, ultra processed food. Earlier, it was simply not available when our parents were of our age because of the economy not getting liberalized. But in the last 3 decades, it has been easily available, and also the exposure has started right from the birth of the child. So that is why all the non-communicable diseases which were earlier found in the 50s or 60s are getting, we are seeing them in the adolescent age groups or in the 20s and 30s, because effectively the period for which we are exposed to them has been the same. If the person starts consuming this kind of thing in his 30s, then by the 50s the exposure is the same as if he starts from his birth up to his 20s. So that is the chief root cause.
Fine. Can you tell us the concept of hidden hunger?
Yes, sir. Hidden hunger refers to the deprivation of micronutrients like minerals, vitamins, etc. In the diet, leading to a lot of deficiency disorders, as against to the deprivation or deficiency of calories, which leads to hunger. We as Indian population we are basically food secure, sir, but we are not nutritionally secure. So
can you tell us about the economy of medical tourism for India? I mean, what is its economic potential for us?
Sir, I am not able to recall exact figures, but I think it is in the future, by the end of this decade, we are aiming to go around 400 billion by 2030s, and currently it is one of the booming sectors, so to say, sunrise sector in the tourism industry, because India has some obvious advantages in that regard, sir. Indian doctors are usually well trained, especially in those who come from the government setup and have had to go through the grueling training. Then they are well spoken in English, which is an advantage while dealing with the foreign patients. The private sector hospitals, some of them are almost as luxurious as the 5-star hotels, which the patients or the medical tourists seek. And all of this is available to them at a fraction of cost at what is available in their home countries, say United States or even other European countries.
Fine. My last question is that tell us 2 or 3 ethical considerations that you place forward if you are going through any kind of medical research.
Sir, compliance first would be compliance with the legal requirements. For example, taking the permission from ethics committee of that particular institute. Second would be full and informed consent. Informed means full disclosure of all the possible risk to the patient. The third would be compensating the patient for any unfortunate loss, or if there is a loss of life, then to the family of the patient. And if there is some kind of positive discovery, then the benefits of the discovery should also come to the participants of that study free of cost. That should be the bare minimum of it. And sir, going beyond that, if there is a clear indication that the study is not going well, then there should be prompt termination of its effects as well. Sometimes.
Fine. Thank you, Tejas.
Thank you, sir.
Tejas, you are a medicine graduate. Can you tell us what is the full form of MBBS?
Sir, it is Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery.
So if you use the first letters of this expansion, it will become BMBS.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually it intrigued me back when I started to read about it. It has its origin in history. It goes from a Latin phrase, some Medicinae Baccalaureus and Bachelor of Surgery.
Okay, fine. Recently there are talks that more number of people above the age of 100 are blowing their birthday candles in Japan. So is it a good news for Japan?
Sir, definitely it is a good news in the sense that they have been continually expanding their average age, and the elderly population is not just aging, it is aging well. So it's a good sign. But it is there is also a problem of shrinking population. So the consequence this consequence is not good, sir.
Can you link this with the economy of Japan? Japan has recently slipped into recession.
Yes, sir. And it has also reduced in the terms of GDP to 4th place from 3rd place. And that has been called sometime as the lost decade or lost generation of the Japan, since practically its economy has not grown in the last 2 decades. Sir, it has a direct correlation with the working age population of the Japan. It has been shrinking for some time, and the Japanese society, being an inward looking society or an isolated society.
What is this particular age group that we refer to as working age population?
Sir, in India it is 15 to 69, if I am not wrong.
Talking about aging, do you think that all sorts of treatments that are available that often claim that they are capable of reversing the aging process? Question number 1, is it possible to reverse the aging process? And question number 2, is it ethical to do that?
Sir, it is very much possible to reduce the biological age. Obviously, the chronological age cannot be reduced, but the biological age can be reduced by simply accepting and implementing honestly the healthcare advice that most of us know, and the simple habits like eating healthy, sleeping at time, sleeping well. And there are also some chemical which claim to do that. I am not aware of their efficacy, sir, but it's a growing field. And sir, regarding the ethicality of it, I think it should be perfectly ethical for a person to adopt these healthy measures and improve his healthy lifespan. Going beyond that, there is going to be a problem of population if every person goes through this. But I think, sir, it always gets balanced, because as the society advances, the total fertility rate and the growth of population reduces, as we have seen the trend across the world.
My final set of questions to you. Can you recall the names of some women participants that were very prominent and active during India's freedom struggle? Just 2 to 3 names and their prominent contribution.
So, first name which comes to my mind is Ms. Sarojini Naidu. She was a aide of Gandhi and Gandhiji, and also the, I think, governor of Uttar Pradesh post-independence. Then Kasturba Gandhi, also the wife of Gandhiji. Kamala Nehru, the wife of Pandit Nehru. Some revolutionaries like Suniti Ghosh. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Tejas, it was nice interacting with you. Your interview is over. You may go now.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. May I come in, sir?
Yes, come in. Sit down, Tejas.
Thank you, sir.
When is your interview?
8th of April, sir.
8th of April. Which attempt is this?
This is second interview and 4th attempt, sir.
4th attempt and second interview. Last interview was in 19, you said, no?
2022 last year.
22. Sir. Okay, last year itself. What is your marks?
So I got 187.
187. You are a wonderful candidate, no doubt about it. But let me ask you a fundamental question. When I asked you to introduce yourself, why did you not mention about your being selected in the IRMS? Was it by design or?
No, sir, it slipped my mind. I think I should have put it in the middle.
Yeah, because that changes the whole complexion of our interview.
Right. Because, sir, I have not joined it, and it has not been a major thing on my mind. So
it's a major achievement as far as you are concerned, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it is.
You are wanting to become a part of the civil services, and you are already there, isn't it? It's incidental that today you are a member of IRMS, you are aspiring to become a member of Indian Administrative Service, Police Service, and so on and so forth. But the fact remains you are already a Group A officer under the central government, isn't it? So it's an important achievement which you should have mentioned.
Yes, sir. I will keep it in mind.
Make sure that, because we are aware of this, that you have already been selected in the IRMS, but we wanted you to speak, which is why we did not ask you from our side. So when you go for the interview, make sure that you clearly tell the board members about your achievement also. It's an achievement. You should mention. Probably you are afraid of getting questions coming from the railways, I don't know. But prepare a brief. A lot of time is there. Brief on the railways also. You are a member of the IRMS, must probably the first batch of IRMS.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it? So why there was a need for IRMS in the railways? how these 8 organized services got merged into this service, based on which recommendation do you think entry in the IRMS through civil services is a good idea? Railways being purely a technical service, why we are recruiting people only through the civil services? Earlier there used to be through engineering services and civil services both. And the committee's recommendation was also to create two separate your selection processes. And anyway, the government in its wisdom has decided, and there is a reason for that. So that is one IRMS. You must, whenever such questions are asked, try to give very balanced views. Some pros, some cons of the alternatives, some good things about it and some bad, because you have not worked there. So whatever information you have gathered, is based on you have what is available in the public domain. So with that caveat, you can always say, sir, unfortunately I have not worked in the railways even for a day, but from whatever I have gathered, little information I have gathered, sir, this whatever I am telling you is based on that information only. Sure. So that the board is aware of the fact that you have gone on EOL and you don't have a single day working experience in the railways. But that takes you to the larger issues of railway accidents, railway reforms and all that. So prepare a brief on railway accidents, railway reforms and some changes which has happened in the railways, like merger of railway budget with the general budget. What was the reason for that and all that, whether it has helped the railways or it has not helped the railways, that kind of a thing. Then your name is Tejas, isn't it?
Sir.
Tejas Express is also there.
Yes, sir.
So how Tejas Express is different from Vande Bharat, what is Namo Bharat train and all that, the design aspect and all operational aspect. One is when you talk about the Tejas Rajdhani and all that, these are all your locomotive hauled trains, whereas these are all self-propelled systems. Okay, so there is a major difference from where it has been imported and all that. What are the some basic design features you should be aware, and also what is the speed of a semi-high speed train, what is the speed of a high speed train. You are coming from Bombay, so high speed corridor is getting constructed between BKC Bombay Kurla complex to your Gujarat.
Yes, sir.
So what are the broad features of your high speed rail corridor? What is the speed? Which country is giving us loan? What are the terms and conditions of that loan? There is JICA loan coming from Japan. So just broad features, just you have to spend only half an hour to understand what it is.
Yes, sir.
So it originates from Sabarmati in Gujarat and terminates there. And it's broad features and all that. So one segment, and that will help you also, that even without joining the railways, you have at least this much of information available with you.
Yes, sir.
The second, you are a doctor. So we try to cover a lot of areas. Nexus between big pharmaceutical companies, doctors, good or bad practices in the corporate hospitals and all that. So your inflated billing issues, you know the issues. So how to address those concerns, and the healthcare issues in the rural India, you are also aware. So how to bring a synergy between the two, and then your traditional medicine system and your own system, that is Ayush and systems, how are you going to integrate those two systems and all that. General questions and medical healthcare issues back in focus after this your COVID. So what changes do you think in the healthcare system and all that? Then mental health care is another important issue. So whatever changes have been incorporated in the Healthcare Act, Mental Health Care Act, that also you should see. The 3-4 important provisions are there. I will not go into details. Speaking about the contributions of women, you spoke a few names, that's very good. But we wanted you to speak name of Savitribai Phule also, who happens to be from Maharashtra. You forgot on that. Wherever such questions are asked, try to think of Maharashtra.
Okay.
That will help you. Farmers issue is again a major issue in Maharashtra. You read about that. Do you think that farmers are still committing suicide? If yes, why they are committing suicide? Why farmers of Maharashtra are not a part of the agitation, farmers agitation? Whether MSP should be legalized? What are the issues involved in that? Those general questions regarding farmers, that is one segment which you have to prepare. Another segment is political segment. Your recent last 1 or 2 years, you have seen that defections taking place in the political parties, Supreme Court's judgment on that, speaker's views on that. Do you think that the speaker has gone by the spirit of the Supreme Court's judgment, or he has evolved his own theory to hold his to give his verdict what he gave? So those general questions about those, and that will again take you to the broader issue of how speaker, in your opinion, should be a non-partisan person. Is it feasible? Is it possible? That kind of a thing.
Yes.
Otherwise, 187 you have already secured, so nothing much to say. You are capable of securing even 200, I can tell you. You are a wonderful candidate. Absolutely no problem. Just read these areas. Probably you may be getting something from that. And only thing which you missed out is about your success story, which you must tell the board very clearly that you are a part of IRMS. Okay. All the best from our side. If you have any specific question to ask.
Sir, the voice, was it?
Excellent, excellent. No, otherwise we would have told you about everything. You are very nice to talk to you. When we start interacting with you, na, so it is very animated discussion on issues. That is what is required of a civil servant. And you are very good in that. Your communication skill is also excellent. Energy level is good. Your total disposition, total personality is very good. So no problems anywhere. No problems anywhere.
Thank you, sir.
All the best.
Thank you so much, sir.
All the best.